Welcome to a very special live edition of Pod by the Bay. We've got a Bay Area Examiner post game live. Real quick, it's nearing midnight, but uh, the clock has not struck midnight on USF's somewhat Cinderella season this year. They go in to uh, play their rivals in the old War on I-4, a game that was a little concerning, not necessarily because of opponent quality, but just matchup issues. And USF goes in, wins 83-77.
It was
It got a little
never in doubt.
it got a little nervy, but
Never in doubt.
yeah, I mean, UCF's largest lead was a 2-point lead
So
early in the game, and then after that, they didn't have the lead again. So, I mean, really, never in doubt, but they got a little nervy.
they so they were up 15, correct? Selton Miguel hit a monster triple right as time expired from the freaking logo. And it seemed like they're up 49-35. It seemed like USF was shooting over, and you and Nate had a really, really good podcast yesterday, looking at KenPom, looking at the advanced stats. They were very tall, much lengthier than USF was, so they needed to be able to shoot over. They did a really good job. I mean, Placer was 3 for 3 to start, and it seemed like every three he shot was a dagger that was silencing the crowd. It was just one of those things, crowd control, keep that down. And even though UCF had the bigs early on, they looked slow. USF was able to drive, do a lot with that, and it looked like they were going to run away with that. But then whatever Coach Dawkins did at halftime changed some things for UCF. They came out on fire.
Yeah, I thought the first half USF played really well, and then the second half was played a little bit more how UCF wanted to play, and that kind of caused the game to tighten down. They've been a really good, and that's kind of when Nate and I were talking yesterday on. We do preview pods every week on the Ponderosa, the Patreon exclusive podcast for the Bay Area Examiner. We talked about their height because it was similar a little bit to how UAB played, and we saw how frustrating that was for USF. But there were some extenuating circumstances we'll talk about that kind of got changed here. But just that length, that height in the middle, and then offensively looking to really get the ball in the paint and kind of work to the free throw line. We saw that formula by UAB. We thought, this could turn one of two ways, right? This could be where, okay, we saw they struggled against UAB, so maybe this is just a bad matchup, or they got to see this already. Maybe they'll be better prepared for it, or they'll be able to kind of correct those mistakes they made in the first game, just little things here and there. And I thought the first half they totally did. They came out firing. UCF was 15th in defensive efficiency nationally in KenPom. So one of the best defenses in the country. And then you come out and light them up for 49 in the first half. Virginia scored 42 points in their entire game in the NCAA tournament this evening. So,
and someone decided to put them in the first four, and see that's when it tells you the committee sometimes looks at past resumes based on that. UCF strong at home too. I mean, I know they're only 11-8, but they beat Kansas at home. They beat Texas Tech at home. They would put up a good fight against Iowa State. Like, they are strong at home. And yeah, spring break, so maybe the crowd could be a little different. NIT changes some things around there, but I mean, if you're USF, you shot 50% from the field. That was the difference. And 54% from 3-point range, 13 of 24. And you only won by 6. So that's how strong UCF was in the second half. You'd feel like if you shot 50% and 54 from 3, you're going to run away with that. To contrast that against UAB, USF only shot 40%. But they did shoot 40% from 3, but UAB just went nuclear, shooting 53%, which is way above their average, and then above on 3. So it felt like in the second half, UCF couldn't miss from beyond the arc after they only took 2, I think, in the first half. There was a bit there where it looked like they were just trading threes. It was super exciting. And then, of course, near the end, it slows to a crawl because it starts getting a little chippy, and that's how these games end up being.
Yeah, that was kind of the big difference when looking at the profiles before the game in UCF and UAB, right? Both obviously UCF's a little bit bigger, but UAB was really good at shooting like 2-pointers and really good at the free throw line. And you saw they put up a stat. I think the 2 guards for UCF were pretty good free throw shooters. The rest of the team was pretty bad. So, like UAB, when they got to the line, their bigs down low, like that Yaxel, I think he's shooting like 80% free throws on the year. So he gets to the line a ton and shoots 80%. UCF tonight shot 52% from the free throw line. They got 23. They got 23 shots at it, but they shot 52%, which was kind of the MO coming in. Is this team is not a great shooting team. Now, 1 game sample size, they could get hot, and they shot 36% from 3, which I'm pretty sure is above their season averages. But USF just shot the cover off the ball for most of the game, and were able to kind of weather the storm in terms of points in the paint, 34 for UCF, 20 for USF. So, I thought it was just kind of the first half, USF, it was kind of, I thought they outplayed UCF thoroughly. And you had a couple bounces go against you. You had 4 points, I think, off, breakaway dunks off kind of lazy passes for USF, and then a banked in 3. So, you give up 35 points in the first half, but really like 7 are kind of, sloppy points. So you didn't give up a ton in that first half. And then UCF, I think they turned the switch a little bit defensively, forced a few more turnovers, got some easier buckets, really took advantage of those offensive rebounds, which ended up being 14-4. But, towards the end of the game, USF was able to snag some key rebounds, limit to 1-shot possessions, and then also draw fouls in key moments and make free throws at the end.
Yeah, and the big thing is, making the free throws. I mean, you shoot 78%, 22 of 28. They're 12 of 23. That's the difference, and that's actually been kind of a huge part of this team all season under Coach Abdurrahim. Is in the previous era, free throws would end up being their Achilles heel. So they'd get to this point in a game, and free throws would kill them, and then that's what you end up losing a close one like this. But I mean, we've seen this with this team here on out, whether they're coming back in the second half or they're holding off a surge from the opposing team, and they kept their cool, and that was huge in this one because there was a lot of chippiness that happened at the end there. I mean, Reed gets shoved at the end. You have one of their guys falling over cheerleaders. Before that, there was the what seemed like a flop.
Yeah, we've got to have
some. Miguel's just trying to get in there, like push 2 guys apart, and he looks as like the other guy just like, it just kind of falls over. Like, what the heck?
We got to have some difference in severity because, a blatant push when a guy's, running with his back turned to you has got to be different than coming and standing over a guy after he pushes your teammate over. I would think that's got to be a different severity, but I thought, all with the chippiness, I think obviously both sides would rather the other team get called for the tech. But if you go with a double tech in a game that's obviously going to be this intense, I think you can be all right with it. I thought.
Yeah, I was okay with that. I mean, it's a huge contrast from, the semifinals last week against UAB when they get 2 back-to-back techs and it's 11-point swing. That just clearly is a ref created issue. Like they just said, hey, we're going to let them play.
Yeah.
We'll sign them and then figure out what happens later.
I was hoping USF would get one of those 7 free throw possessions like UAB got in the semifinal game, but it wasn't meant to be, unfortunately.
That I just the funny thing about that, because you guys brought that up, I literally I was working an event that night and I was watching the game, majority of it away for that moment. And I come back 10 minutes later, 3 or 4 minutes later, it's like, what the heck happened? Look at the Discord and go, an 11-point swing? Like just an outrageous amount of how the heck did this even happen? But I digress. I'm just glad to see that the refereeing was pretty tame. I'm sure there was some, ticky-tack fouls here and there, but
I think both teams could have some. Yeah, I think both teams could probably have some gripes here and there, but for the most part, I thought. Now, the constant reviewing is always a little annoying, but it's the thing about this USF team that makes them so strong, right? Is there's seemingly a guy every night it could be a different guy that really steps up and kind of takes hold of part of the game, and that's why they've been so successful. There's been some games where, Chris Youngblood, I think there's games where like it's a tight game, he explodes, ends up scoring 30 points, he closes the game out for you. There's times where, like at the start of this game, Jose Placer, I thought, oh, this is going to be the Jose Placer game. This is like how it's going to be remembered, because he came out so hot and was able to really help establish that lead early. And then you have guys like Case and Pryor, who you got the full Case and Pryor experience tonight. You got dunks, you got threes, you got turnovers, you got technical fouls, you got blocks.
You got him throwing a ball in the guy's face, the whole thing.
Yeah,
the whole experience.
His signature move, and you got Rocky missing a dap and them having to shake hands. So
there was a moment where he got called for a foul, and then he went to the I think that he went to the UCF people and was like,
yeah. So you got the full Case and Pryor experience. He played really well. Selton Miguel led the team with 19 points. And then, I thought, and this is what I alluded to earlier, one of the other issues in that UAB semifinal was you were missing Corey Walker for the entire game. And then Stroud got in foul trouble early. And then Hines got injured. So you're missing kind of that whole kind of the guys that do the dirty work down low. And they don't always stuff the stat sheet. Sometimes they have big games and do, but if you just kind of watch them off the ball, and if you watch them tonight off the ball, well, you saw Stroud got a forearm shiver to the head late in the game and got an offensive foul.
He got punched in the back of the head.
Deacon Jones style head slap from the 70s. But but those guys are, they're kind of those glue guys down low, and they're not big, but they're pretty tough. And you could tell their presence was sorely missed against UAB. And that was one of the other reasons we were a little wary about this matchup. It's just that this is a really big UCF team. And that's just been seemingly the kryptonite for this USF team at times. And those guys were all able to play. They showed up, played tough. Like I said, they don't exactly stuff. Like, they don't have any eye-popping stats. Stroud ends up with 5 points. Walker ends up with 6 points. Hines ends up with 3 points. But Stroud is 8 rebounds. Hines has 4 rebounds. Walker has 3 rebounds. And they've made it tough on those big guys down there.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing is you get a change of pace in there. He makes it tougher for them. And he got Corey Walker in 11 minutes shot 4 for 4 on the free throw behind the charity stripe. And that's just things that, 6 points and 4 of them are free throws. It's just, he was able to drive, get to the line, and able to do his thing. He only played 11 minutes. Hines played 12. I'm sure they're still hurting. I mean, and Jaden Reed, who, lost some time against UAB with an injury, came sick, plays 16 minutes, gets 10 points. It's just like these little things where you can give your starting 5 or Miguel a little bit of time, and it creates all these extra opportunities down the road, and it's huge. It's like you said, there's nothing on the stat line that says it, but I mean, going in there, being able to get to the free throw line, just take 10 minutes away, and give somebody a rest.
And Reed being able to be like another ball handler at the end of games, in the game situations as a freshman, he's a little fearless, so he's going to try to shoot gaps between people. But he drew fouls. I think one may have been a makeup call for one they missed earlier on right before Miguel. But he kind of shoots the gap, gets to the free throw line, makes 4 clutch free throws at the end of the game, and he's just a freshman. So, I think you want the biggest. This ain't the same old South Florida. Look at those free throw numbers.
Yeah,
because we've seen some egregious free throw shooting.
And it's all the guys. I mean, the only one that didn't do well was Kobe Knox at the end of the game. He missed his 2, but
immediately came back with a steal.
Yeah, exactly. Pryor, Walker, Reed, all 4 for 4. Youngblood 2 for 2. And so this is a game where Youngblood wasn't really on his game. He scored 9 points, but you had 4 other guys in double figures. So it's like you're able to play your game where you can. And that's why it's important going on these big leads when you have a hot streak, because you never know when it's going to turn the tide. And this being able to go out in front like that was huge. And it also took the crowd out of it. It's a game where it's like you don't want halftime to come, because that changes the dynamic a little bit. But, they come out and they still shoot fearless, and they still try to play their game. All I say, like the thing that UCF does on defense, where they all hit the floor at the same time.
Like, I think USF scored every possession they did that. So
it felt like it. I was like, what's happening?
Yeah, so
I think I did that in like my old YMCA leagues.
Yeah, were you guys locked down in the YMCA?
Oh my gosh, that's when I was growing up. Yeah, I mean, I love playing basketball, and then I, stopped growing at like, I'm not gonna tell you how not tall I am, but I stopped growing at some point. It was like, well, this isn't gonna work anymore.
Yeah. So, moving on in the NIT, this was a game beforehand. You're like, this could be a total nightmare scenario, or it could be just we're flying super high after this game, right? So, great job by the committee making this matchup in the first round. Nobody was nervous. Everybody loved it. Everybody's excited about it.
It was perfect. Insane.
So
amazing work, everybody.
Great job by the committee. They will play the winner of Villanova and VCU. I think they play tomorrow night, if I'm not mistaken.
Tomorrow night at 9 p.m. on ESPN2. So they get to be on TV.
Yeah, and I would imagine the next game will be on TV. There was you're either playing a Villanova team who's both those teams are named brands. There's a rumor going around the Discord that if VCU won, maybe you'd have a chance to host, but I don't know. That's just
once you take the seed.
Fans with sources.
Yeah, I don't. I imagine if you just do it by record or any other, I mean, they have the better record over VCU. Technically, Villanova is a seeded team, and what does think of you being paired with the 4th seed in this side, that you would get Villanova, who is a 1 seed. It's just very unfortunate that they just made the bracket based on here's the auto bids we're going to do from the Power 6 conferences, and we're going to slide in what makes sense when USF has the best record in this region, this side of the bracket, yet they're paired with the 4th seed. It's just unfortunate the way that is. But Villanova has had a very disappointing season since their coach retired a couple years ago. VCU again, another name brand. They just couldn't quite.
I would think
get there.
It looks like so.
Looking at tomorrow.
Yeah, looking at the A10, VCU was not the regular season champ. So I wonder if it would default to conference champ hosting.
Yeah, that could be.
So if that's the default, then USF would host if VCU were able to win. So that could be pretty fun. We've got a decent number of people watching. Any questions? We just want to jump on real fast, give you something to listen to if you're driving home from the game or driving a little groggy before work starts tomorrow morning. You need to listen to something. You want to listen to something in the game. So we wanted to jump on here and talk about it real quick. Any questions from anybody, Vito? Anything from the game that stuck out to you that we haven't talked? I mean, one thing that always sticks out to me, and it's funny, you're always looking at the coach's face to try to figure out what the refs are saying on these technical fouls and all these other things. Coach AR is he's pretty steady, man. He's pretty cool back there. It's hard to tell a lot what's happening. So.
All right, we got one. Central Florida's physicality and size. How did that affect everything?
Yeah, I mean, you could see the points in the paint and the offensive rebounding. That's kind of their bread and butter. But we kind of talked about in our preview of the game that, you could possibly shoot over it. And then at times early, I think in the first half, they tried to play a little bit more man defense. UCF did, and you kind of get the big switch on, one of your more athletic guys, because you're not real big as USF, but you've got some athleticism. And those guys you saw Stroud able to blow by a guy, plus Air got switched on, was able to blow by. So, and then when they would switch to zone to prevent that, USF was able to shoot well enough to kind of punish them there. So I think I felt their defense, and maybe that's kind of part of the physicality, just constantly getting those hands in there. And I thought their guards were pretty tough laterally. Like the guards didn't get blown by a ton.
Yeah.
They were always poking the ball away.
In part, they were able to storm back. USF had 17 turnovers. So,
yeah. And that was, I think, let me see how many of those were in the second half, because it felt like the second half was a little bit more at UCF's pace, and that to me is like the physicality, turnovers and runouts, and then they were fed the ball inside a little bit more, a lot more drive into the basket, and not settling for jump shots. So let's see if we can look at the second half stats here.
Yeah, and they also had 18 points off those turnovers. Definitely the second half, it felt like they wanted to be in full court press because they love to just kind of get in there.
USF had 11 turnovers in the second half, so 6 in the first, 11 in the second. So I think that's kind of where it showed up. That's how they wanted to play. Their defensive first team in size. Let's see, Zane. How wired are we? I don't know. Where are you at, Vito? I'm trying to be proactive here. So I know I need I need a little melatonin to help me sleep. So I took it at halftime, and then
oh jeez,
and then I'm not superstitious, but
little stitious.
UAB game, I jumped on the bike a little bit and that seemed to help. So somewhere in the second half, I jumped on the bike and ended up sitting on the bike for most of the second half, and that was not a great idea. So I'm kind of between wired and tired right now. I'm probably when we get off here, I'll be all right. But
it's fun. It's fun to talk about this, and it's an exciting game, and I know this particular game gets everyone on pins and needles. If they were to lose this game, that almost changes the entire outcome of what you think about the season. For some people, I mean, most people would go, this is still a very successful season, but losing to this team in this way on the road after not making the tournament, losing the AAC tournament. So there's a lot of, anxiety about that. So then once you get through and you physically win, you get to see them and they played really, really well. And then you look towards the NIT and go, oh, if they could play like this, they might be able to do this thing. It just gets you pretty excited. So yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little wired. I had coffee way later than I should have though, so that's not gonna help me.
Yeah, it was one of those games where like my biggest worry coming in was that it felt like, and I didn't think this was a great UCF team, but just the matchup seemed tough, especially after we just saw UAB, right? How physicality and size seemed to be really tough. So my biggest worry was that if this game didn't go well, just because of who the opponent was, that all the good from the season would kind of get put on the back burner just because, how bad this would feel, right, for most of the fan base. So that might be the biggest relief. So it's maybe more relief almost, just because that would have been a real bummer to carry that on you for the rest of the year or for the rest of the offseason after having a really great year. And I think now officially the most wins ever in a season. So
you break that record and you have the rest of the tournament ahead of you, and these guys get to keep playing again together. And I think it shows that they still want to play and they still want to win. And it's, again, coach is doing an incredible job.
Yeah, Tom Perry Clark, I thought early he was, it felt like he sobered up a little bit as the game went on. Early it was tough, man. But yeah, I don't know. I thought at times he was all right, but anytime there was a review, I don't know if they must not have been helping those guys with the TV, because they were kind of all over the place on those reviews. And I think, do they cover more Big 12 and UCF? Because he seemed to have some familiarity with them. I'm not sure. And Onion was the other guy.
Onion.
Onion.
So, I was like, are you serious? His name is Onion?
Yeah. So,
I wasn't sure if that was like an NIT. Because I know sometimes the ESPN Plus, it's in-house guys. That didn't seem the case here.
Yes, I don't know. But it wasn't. I tell you, it wasn't as bad as that UAB game. That group,
that was brutal.
Drove me nuts. So
they love Coach Kennedy, that's for sure.
Yeah, they're former colleague. That helps. Zane's got another question. Did it ever feel? We said at the beginning, never in doubt, but did it ever feel?
It's so weird with this team, because like when you're up by 14, 15 and the team goes on, an 11-2 run, you just feel that they're gonna go ahead and stop the bleeding, keep it going. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just, or like stop it and keep it. It didn't really feel like it got within 2 multiple times, but I don't know. I just felt like they were still going to be able to close it out, especially because they were hitting their free throws. They were shooting over 50%. I mean, you shot 50% from the field. You can't. That's incredible. It's just like UCF eventually will stop making shots, and then eventually they did, and then it got chippy, and then that to me was like, oh shoot, the last thing you need to do is get a tech and then do another one of these 11-point plays. But I would say it started to feel it, but I just was confident that they were going to be able to stop the run and finish it off, and they did.
I think if it ever would have got tied, or if they would have ever taken a lead, I think you pucker up a little bit, but.
That's when the crowd gets in it, and then all of a sudden it's hard to get that back.
But they were able to hold it off. Like we said, UCF's largest lead of the game was 2 points early in the game, and they never let again. So I think you felt a little nervous just because, to me, the second half was a little bit nerve-wracking just because you could tell they were playing more how UCF wanted to play. And you're just like, okay, this is not the way you guys really want to play typically. So that was kind of but they settled, and this team has done a really good job all year of being in tough games and pulling it out at the end. So they earned the benefit of the doubt a little bit. But if they would have gone down again, that probably would have puckered you up. Matt wants to know.
Then, keep going. I was like, they could come back, so that's why it's like it's tough to tell.
Yeah, the team's pretty resilient, so there's not too much. I think they'll be able to keep the head coach. I think you're good for a year, at least. We'll see. I mean, this might be an ACC program coming up here. We'll see.
Whoa! Get the Domino's gift.
We'll see what some of our friends up north end up doing. But yeah,
all I'm gonna say: donate to Bulls Club, donate to Fowler Avenue Collective, and maybe those questions don't come up, Right? Link in the description. No, okay.
Donate to the BAE Examiner, and then we'll do what we can and donate from there. But and I think you're good. I think the fact that you, didn't make the NCAA tournament may help you because everybody's kind of looking for the jobs. I think he would want. Are probably looking for a bigger splash, even though he's obviously a really, really good coach. So. But I don't know.
I personally think he wants to stay here and build something. But if you just think about the openings, Ohio State just extended their interim.
Yeah.
Michigan is open, but it's one of those things.
He's always coaching the South, right?
Yeah. So it's like you just kind of look at where the openings are. DePaul hired somebody, or Ohio State's old coach. So you just start looking at kind of what the openings are as of right now and pay attention to see if anything happens in the next couple of days. But yeah.
I think if you're him and you're looking for that, and Tom's got a good point. They're already talking extensions with Kelly and Golish and Amir. So I think they're trying to head that off. But if you're him and your whole team's coming back next year, you wait till next year. If this isn't where you want to build, right? So I would think that's not going to happen. Any more questions? We're past midnight now. Vito and I do have other jobs. And
that's blasphemy.
I've got a parent-teacher conference in the morning. Good. That's a mandatory one. It's not a crazy one.
Okay. Well,
a little 7:30. Just third quarter review or whatever. So
that's a fun one. I mean, that's not a question, but a statement. It is March 20th, and we're still talking about basketball and not like waiting for more spring football updates. How cool is that?
Yeah, that's nice. It's helped. It's helped
men's basketball. We're talking about men's basketball. Yeah, normally we're talking about women's basketball.
Yeah, it's helped bridge the gap for the old Bay Area Examiner. We were, didn't know what the old content program was going to look like after football, but it's been awesome and really enjoyable watching this team and seeing them kind of grow throughout the year, seeing guys get better and them just keep winning. So, and hopefully at least we get to see them play one more time, which is great. And then we'll find out who they play, and we'll be back later on this week with a preview on the Patreon. We'll make that available for all patrons, $5 and up. And $5 also gets you access to the Insider Discord, which is kind of our version of a message board. We put some insider stuff in there when we get it. And we're able to give it. We can't give out everything, but we put stuff in there, and it's $5 a month. Most of the message boards around are $10, so good value. And you'll get our in-depth previews where we go into the advanced stats, look at teams, and we just did one on UCF last night and put it out at 6 o'clock this morning. And once we know the matchup, we'll get another one of those out before the game. So.
Just a couple things on the Discord. I mean, the game threads were popping this entire time for all the games. It's really great. You get to see people talk about a slam that happens, and everyone's chatting it up, talking about why the refs reviews taking forever. It's just a lot of fun, kind of being in a community and doing that, because you try to do it on Twitter, and it's like there's so much going on, and this is actually you're in something that's happening live, and we're all watching it together. It's pretty neat. Robert Stieg was at the AAC Championships in Fort Worth and was giving exclusive content the entire time. We did 8 podcasts last week for the championships.
Yeah, I think we've done this will be like about 10-ish since March 8th. So some of those have just been Patreon exclusive. Some has been Pod by the Bay, YouTube, and free podcast feeds. But yeah, we've done quite a bit on this basketball run, and we're going to do more as it continues, and hopefully it continues for a little while longer.
Yeah, it'll be exciting. But yeah, tell your friends, join up. It's a lot of fun.
With that being said, go Bulls.
Go Bulls. See ya.